Hi kids, it's Pastor Patty from Vermont Street United Methodist Church. I'm so glad to have you with me today for Sunday School. In the United States, we celebrated Memorial Day a couple of weeks ago. Memorial Day is a time when we remember heroes who have died trying to protect others. And this is a good thing to do, to remember the sacrifice other people have made so that we can have what we have today. The Bible in the book of Hebrews has its own heroes of the faith memorial, and it shows us that it's good to remember the sacrifices of others, and it also challenges us to live a life that glorifies God and helps others, just like these heroes did. Now, of course, for some people, Memorial Day is nothing more than a day off from work or school. It's the end of a 3-day weekend, the kickoff to summer, and not much else. But for many people, Memorial Day is a very special day of remembering those who died for our freedom. And sometimes we call them heroes. Today, as we turn to our Bibles, we want to take a moment to remember another group of heroes. These are men and women who blazed a path for us, not as Americans, but as believers in God. And they are the heroes of the Old and New Testaments, the heroes of the faith. It is because of their faith that we are here today worshiping the same Lord. Now, this passage shows up in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, and that's in the New Testament. It's one of the letters in the later part of the New Testament, and it's there in chapter 11 that we find a list of some of the greatest heroes of the Bible and a challenge to follow in their footsteps. So come with me as we take a walk through what some people call the Hall of Faith. So Hebrews 11, it's kind of a long passage, so hang with me, but you're going to hear about an awful lot of people whose stories you may have heard, some of them anyway, you may have heard these stories. So I'm going to start at chapter 11, verse 1, and read through verse 12, and then we go to verse 20 and read through 31, and then we go to verse 39 and read through chapter 12, verse 3. So 3 sections, okay? So hang with me here. Faith is the reality of what we hope for, the proof of what we don't see. The elders in the past were approved because they showed faith. By faith, we understand that the universe was created by a word from God so that the visible came into existence from the invisible. And here's where we begin the list of heroes. By faith, Abel offered a better sacrifice to God than Cain, which showed that he was righteous, since God gave approval to him for his gift. Though he died, he is still speaking through faith. By faith, Enoch was taken up so that he didn't see death, and he wasn't found because God took him up. He was given approval for having pleased God before he was taken up. It's impossible to please God without faith, because the one who draws near to God must believe that he exists and that he rewards people who try to find him. By faith, here's a name you probably know, by faith Noah responded with godly fear when he was warned about events he hadn't yet seen. He built an ark. We've studied that story, haven't we? He built an ark to deliver his household. With his faith, he criticized the world and became an heir of the righteousness that comes through faith. Here's another name you know. By faith, Abraham. We've studied his story too. Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place that he was going to receive as an inheritance. He went out without knowing where he was going. By faith, he lived in the land where he had been promised as a stranger. He lived in tents along with Isaac and Jacob, who were co-heirs of the same promise. He was looking forward to a city that has foundations, whose architect and builder is God. By faith, another name you know, even Sarah, that was Abraham's wife, received the ability to have a child, though she herself was barren and past the age for having children, because she believed that the one who promised was faithful. So descendants were born from one man, and he as good as dead. They were as many as the number of the stars in the sky, and as countless as the grains of sand on the seashore. Here's another name. By faith, Isaac also blessed Jacob and Esau concerning their future. By faith, Jacob blessed each of Joseph's sons as he was dying, and bowed in worship over the heads of his staff. By faith, Joseph recalled the exodus of the Israelites at the end of his life and gave instructions about burying his bones. Here's another name you know. By faith, Moses was hidden by his parents for 3 months when he was born, because they saw that the child was beautiful and they weren't afraid of the king's orders. By faith, Moses refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter when he was grown up. He chose to be mistreated with God's people instead of having the temporary pleasures of sin. He thought that the abuses he suffered for Christ were more valuable than the treasures of Egypt, since he was looking forward to the reward. By faith, he left Egypt without being afraid of the king's anger. He kept on going as if he could see what was invisible. By faith, he kept the Passover and the sprinkling. By faith, he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood in order that the destroyer would not touch their firstborn children. By faith, they crossed the Red Sea as if they were on dry land, but when the Egyptians tried it, they were drowned. By faith, Jericho's walls fell after the people marched around them for 7 days. By faith, Rahab wasn't killed with the disobedient because she welcomed the spies in peace. All these people didn't receive what was promised, though they were given approval for their faith. God provided something better for us so that they wouldn't be made perfect without us. So then, with endurance, let us also run the race that is laid out in front of us, since we have such a great cloud of witnesses surrounding us. Let's throw off any extra baggage, get rid of the sin that trips us up, and fix our eyes on Jesus, faith's pioneer and perfecter. He endured the cross, ignoring the shame for the sake of the joy that was laid out in front of him, and sat down at the right side of God. Think about the one who endured such opposition from sinners so that you won't be discouraged and you won't give up. That was a long passage, wasn't it? And a lot of names that I know you've heard before. We've studied some of their stories in Sunday school, and then it ended with the story of Jesus and a reminder to us of all that Jesus had done for us. Now, if someone were to build a hall of fame for faith, I have no doubt that this is where they would begin. The first class of inductees into that hall of fame for faith would have to include people like Abraham and Sarah and Enoch and Jacob and Joseph and David, as well as New Testament heroes like Peter and John and Stephen the martyr and Paul. You would also have to include people like Rahab and Ruth and Esther and Mary Magdalene, the first of Jesus' followers to see him alive after the resurrection. It's because of these men and women, these heroes, that we have God's Word. It is because of them that we know Jesus as our Savior, and it's because of them that we gather every week to celebrate what God has done for us. A hall of fame is intended to honor the past, but it's also intended to inspire. Just as the Baseball Hall of Fame inspires future All-Stars and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland inspires future musicians, the Hall of Fame for faith can inspire us to become true followers of Christ. We can do great things for the Lord, just like these Hall of Faithers, if we trust God the way they did. If we trust God the way they did. So if you go back and read the stories of the men and women from the Hall of Faith, you'll discover that they had one thing in common besides their faith. They were imperfect. There's a story at the end of Noah's story of the ark where we discover that Noah became a drunkard in his old age. Abraham sometimes had a problem with the truth, as did his son Isaac and his grandson Jacob. Joseph and Samson struggled with pride. Gideon and Barak struggled with doubt. Even the great King David sinned and made it worse by trying to cover it up. Why does it matter that these men and women were imperfect? Because it tells us that anyone with a pure heart can be a hero of the faith. We have all sinned and fallen short of God's glory. But if we seek God first, if we spend time with God every day, we can have the same faith as our heroes. There was a woman who was connected to our church who died recently, and one of the things she always wanted her family to remember was that it needs to be God first and family second. If we put God first, our family and our friends will all be in the right position. Because if we don't love God first, we won't love our family and our friends the way we should. That woman is a hero of the faith. She is a Hall of Famer, a Hall of Faither, and she's right here from our church. And there's other people too like that. You know people like that, and we all do. And there's one more thing that I should mention about the Hall of Fame. There's always room for more. Every Hall of Fame, whether it's the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, or the Pinball Hall of Fame in Las Vegas, Nevada, every Hall of Fame inducts new honorees every year. There's always room in the Hall of Faith for new heroes, like this woman from our church. There's always room for new people, and if we give our lives fully to Jesus, we can take our place in the Hall of Faith one day too. As the writer of the book of Hebrews put it, a huge cloud of witnesses is all around us. So let us throw off everything that stands in our way. Let us throw off any sin that holds on to us so tightly, and let us keep on running the race marked out for us. Let us be faithful, and let us trust God as we keep running the race. There's room in the Hall of Faith for you. So let's run the race and earn our place. Okay, it's time for a pop quiz. Let's review the Bible passage and the people there in the Bible passage and see how much you remember. Who was the hero who once killed a giant with a sling and a stone? Who was that hero of the faith? That was King David, wasn't it? Only he wasn't a king at that time. He was just a boy, only a boy named David. And he killed a giant with a sling and a stone. Now, there was a hero who did not die. God took him away, we hear. Do you remember who that was? This is not a real well-known hero of the faith, but he's got a powerful story in the Old Testament. His name was Enoch. And he didn't die. God simply took him away to heaven. And so that's an interesting story. You might want to look that up in the Old Testament. There was a hero who hid 2 spies who had come to spy on the city of Jericho. Do you remember her name? Her name was Rahab. And she was considered to be a sinful woman, but Rahab was a hero of the faith because she was willing to hide those 2 spies who came on behalf of God to help the Hebrew people know what was going on in the city of Jericho. Okay, we've talked a little bit about this hero today. He spent over 100 years building a boat in order to get ready for a flood. Do you remember his name? Yep, his name was Noah. Noah and the ark. And then remember we heard that Noah had a little bit of trouble with alcohol in his later years. So Noah was a hero, but he was also a sinner, just like all the rest of us. This hero led Israel out of Egypt and slavery. He's one of the great heroes of the faith from the Old Testament. Do you remember his name? If you said Moses, you've got it right. So Moses was that hero who led Israel out of Egypt and out of slavery. Okay, I don't know how you did on that quiz, but I hope you remembered some of those names. And remember that you too can live that life of faith. You can trust God, and you can be a Hall of Famer, a Hall of Fame of faith. Let's pray. Dear God, give us a strong faith in Jesus. In his name we pray. Amen. Hey kids, thanks for being with me today. I'm glad to have had you here for Sunday school. And we will see you next week. I believe next week will be Father's Day weekend. So let me give you that little heads up. And we'll have a lesson about Father's Day, okay? All right. Well, you have a great week. I hope you're having a good summer. Bye-bye.